Hi, I'm Renée Walker, a mindset mentor, speaker, and lover of all things spiritual. I believe that at our core, we are all spiritually wired for love, peace, success, and abundance. Here on the podcast, we're diving into mindset, wellness, and business, but always through a spiritual lens. Let's just say we're going deep, but we're keeping it light. So let's elevate your life from the inside out, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Spiritually Wired. Welcome back to the Spiritually Wired podcast. I am so excited to be kicking off season 2 with you today. And I thought that a great way to start this season would be to explore what spiritual coaching is, or maybe what makes it different from all of the other types of coaching. And it was inspired by someone recently asking me the question, why are you so passionate about incorporating spirituality into your coaching? And it really made me pause, reflect on that, and then also realize that maybe that answer isn't always clear. So we're going to unpack this in this episode. Most of the coaching that we see, so when I say, coaching, I'm talking life coaching and business coaching and some of the mindset coaching, usually starts with an end goal in mind. So you make a decision, this is what I want, whether it's a new career, a milestone in your business, a health goal. And from the point of having this goal, you hire a coach, you work with a coach, whether it's one-on-one or in a group setting, to help you map out the steps to get there. Goals matter. They're really important. And as I do believe that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. And so as spiritual beings, we are meant to always grow, always evolve, always expand. So having goals, working towards our goals is very important. However, the deeper question to ask, and this is one of the things that I do believe differentiates spiritual coaching in many settings, is asking yourself, where are these goals really coming from? Are these goals truly yours, or are they the goals that you think that you should have? Are they the goals that are coming from your parents, from society in general, or maybe they're goals that are coming from an older version of you? So maybe it's the 20-year-old version of you that decided that this one goal was important, and you are spending years of your life working towards a goal that no longer resonates with who you are today. It doesn't fit anymore, but you're so used to working towards that goal. It's been such a big part of your life that you've never really thought that maybe you've just outgrown that goal. It's like climbing a mountain. Traditional coaching, or many of the coaching that's available out there, will maybe help you to climb the mountain faster and, be stronger, smarter about it. Spiritual coaching will ask you first, is this even the mountain that you want to climb? And when we say you, we're speaking to your higher self. Is this the mountain that is for you? And that to me is one of the fundamental differences, is making sure that what you're working on is actually coming from a place of love. It's not coming from a place of fear, which means the shoulds and the expectations. It is an invitation to really pause, tune into your inner knowing, your intuition, and to listen, to pay attention, so that when you are taking action, you are taking action from a place that is yours, that is connected with your truth, your higher self. There's this other story that I love, and I remember hearing it actually in my spiritual coaching certification. And it's this businessman that is on vacation, and he's on this beautiful island, and he meets this fisherman who, brings his catch of the day, and it's this nice big fish. And so the businessman asks him, wow, is that like the only fish that you caught today? And he says, yes, that's the only fish that we need, that me and my family need. And he says, well, what are you going to do for the rest of the day? And the fisherman just looks at him and he says, well, I'm going to go home and I'm going to have a nap and I'm going to spend time with my kids. And then I'm going to enjoy a beautiful dinner with my wife. And later on, I'm going to go into the village and have some wine with friends and play some guitar with them. And so the businessman looks at him and just sort of scoffs. And he said, you realize that if you were to spend more time fishing, you could actually bring in more fish to sell. You could buy more boats and maybe eventually hire other people to work for you. And before you know it, you can be building this fishing company, this empire that you can then later on sell. And then when you sell it, you'll be able to retire and live on an island so that you can spend more time with your children and your wife and take some naps and go to the village in the evening, sipping wine, playing guitar, spending more time with your friends. And so you know where I'm going with this. The fisherman just looks at him and says, well, that's exactly what I'm doing already. And I remember that story always resonating with me so much because it just reminds us to pause and to ask, what am I really wanting here? It's usually not about the goal. It's actually the feeling that the goal brings us. It is what we are creating, who we are becoming in the process of the goal, but it's never the end result itself. And oftentimes, what we're chasing is actually already present. We're just not looking for it in the right places. And so at the heart of spiritual coaching is really recognizing that it's not just about the goal, but it's the why does this goal matter to me? What am I wanting to bring into my life? What do I want to create? What does it represent? Freedom, joy, connection, contribution. And so the more connected to the why, to the essence of what it is that you're working towards, the more open you stay. And when you're open to recognizing that the how you create more freedom, more joy, more connection, more contribution in your life is going to look different. It can look different. You're not attached to the process of getting there. You're recognizing that it can come to you in many different ways. And that is so important, right? If we go back to that story, whether it's the mountain or the fisherman's story, it's reminding yourself, recognizing that it's less about how fast you're climbing it, it's less about how big the empire is, and more about where you're headed and how you're feeling in the process and what it's creating for you. Now, don't get me wrong, I am big on setting goals. I love goals, but I love goals because they stretch us, because they keep us in a space of expansion, because they keep us working towards what really matters, our purpose. And I believe that our goals are there calling us forward for this expansion, not for the end goal. And that's why So many times people work to, thinking that it's about the money, or it's about the body, or it's about this and that. And when they actually achieve the goals, they're left recognizing or left feeling empty from it, because it was never about that. It's the process of it. And when we recognize that, it changes so much. And this brings me to this idea, this spiritual concept of choosing love over fear. Spiritual coaching comes from a place of love. That means that you're leading with curiosity, with compassion, with courage. Traditional coaching usually, and it's not that it always comes, but it often can come from a place of fear, which is about pushing harder, proving yourself. It is about avoiding failing. And so we're doing everything that we can to take steps forward, to push through, but it's coming from a place of fear. It's coming from external validation, proving yourself, wanting to know that, I want to accomplish this so that I can be accepted. While as spiritual coaching is coming from a place of love, right? Fear is that voice of not enough. Love is the voice of more than enough, that you are more than enough. There's nothing else outside of you that you need. You get to do it because it excites you, because it is a calling that feels that there's joy. There is something bigger that is calling you forward. So I always come back to this question when I'm working with students, when I'm working with clients. Is this coming from love? Is this coming from fear? And that is such a great way to check in. I know whenever I'm about to do anything big, it's like, where is this coming from? Because it can look great on paper. And it can be, it can feel like, oh, that would be so amazing. But when I always really check in with myself, I can see, yes, this is coming from a place of, I feel like I should be doing it because I'm looking around and it seems like everyone else is, and I'm comparing myself, and I probably should do that. That's fear-based versus I'm choosing to do this because there is something within me. Yes, it can still scare me because it's forcing me to do something that's out of my comfort zone, but it is calling me from a place of love from within. So always tuning into that. There's also your nervous system, and that is an important thing to always keep in mind. And I would say that spiritual coaching keeps in mind is your nervous system regulated? Because when you are living from a place of stress, so your nervous system is activated, it means that your body is flooded with chemicals. And those chemicals, which play a part and they're part of your survival, they are blocking your intuition. So when we are setting goals, when we are living life from our nervous system is fear, basically, right? So that means that we are not able to really tune into what we want. We are in survival mode. We are doing what we think we should be doing, and it's go, 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 go. So it's really important to prioritize your nervous system regulation when it comes to leading a life of meaning, of fulfillment. So that means tuning in and recognizing that there are times in your life where the best thing that you can do for yourself is to prioritize your nervous system regulation. It's not about doing anything more. It's about actually doing less so that you can come back to a place where you can actually hear yourself. Hear your higher self, where you can actually begin to pay attention to what is going on around you, to how you're actually feeling. So you're not just going through the actions. I've had many clients where I've had to say in some sessions, okay, I think we need to take a step back here, and we need to realign ourselves with what matters, and we need to, right now, the best thing you can do is not do anything and just make sure that all of your energy is going towards your health and your nervous system. Once you're back into this rest and digest state, your parasympathetic nervous system is back in gear. You are starting to pay attention more to your nervous system, to your intuition. You're feeling calmer. Now we can start to work again towards what is calling you, what is lighting you up. Another really important piece to spiritual coaching is you are already whole. It means that is the foundation of the work that you're doing, is recognizing that you are whole, that you are not broken, that you do not need fixing, that you have everything that you need already. So the work isn't about adding more. Usually it's actually in letting go of what's in the way of you and your connection to your higher self and to your higher power. We're going to talk a little bit more about that. So it's exactly like being outside and it's a very cloudy day. You know that the sun is there, but the sun is just covered by those clouds, and that the clouds eventually will pass. And when it comes to your connection with your higher self and with your higher power, it's really knowing and trusting, believing that you are whole. There's maybe some things that are getting in the way. And so what is getting in the way? Is it the expectations that you're placing on yourself? Is it the external voices, the shoulds, the other people? Is it your environment? Or is it your subconscious beliefs, your programming? And I'd say for almost everyone, our subconscious programming plays a big part in getting in the way of your wholeness. And that is not because you're not whole. It's just a part of being human. Your subconscious mind, which is essentially your nervous system, because your nervous system holds it, is basically there to keep you safe. And so from the time that you are born and as you grow, your subconscious mind is just creating these beliefs, creating stories, narratives to keep you safe. It's not doing it to harm you. It's there protecting you. And then you come to a point in your life where you realize that these stories no longer serve me. They're actually keeping me away from connecting with who I truly am. They're keeping me away from my truth. They're keeping me small. And I am ready now to rewrite those stories. And so this is where, for me, on my own, journey, I'd say I started out more in the personal development space, more the traditional life coaching. And then I really discovered spirituality in a way that made so much sense to me, that spoke to me in such a deep way. And then as I was on this spiritual path, recognized how powerful these subconscious beliefs are and how important it is to have these practical, tangible tools to release them, which is what brought me to NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And so why for me now, it's being on the spiritual path, but then recognizing that we have ways, we have tools that we can use to reprogram what's in the way of you and your higher power, your connection to your higher self. So that has been such a big shift. And so I'd say maybe where it can a little bit deviate from just being in this category of spiritual coaching, in this category of mindset, NLP coaching, and it's really creating a framework that allows for both to work together, because that is it. It's like, how can we support ourselves in connecting with who we truly are? And then I would say that a huge part of the spiritual coaching, and just in the word spiritual, and I think why it makes people maybe uncomfortable, is that the word spirit isn't spiritual. And that means that as soon as we speak of spirituality, that we are acknowledging that we have a relationship with a greater energy, with a greater power, a higher power. Doesn't matter what we call it, whether it is spirit or universe or God or source. Whatever the word is doesn't matter as much as the belief that we have in a higher power, and also that this higher energy is working with us. So that's where the word co-creation comes from. You are co-creating with the universe. We're going to use the term universe. So when you acknowledge that you are a spiritual being that is always co-creating with the universe, then that means that you are no longer on your own, right? I love to teach in terms of opposite. And so the opposite of that is that you're creating everything by yourself. You are one person here right now, an individual person, and you're working towards your goals. Everyone is separate. You're on your own, doing it by yourself. When you are taking a more spiritual approach to it, it means that you are now co-creating with the universe. And that is very different. That was the biggest shift that came for me. That means that now I have a belief that life is unfolding for me as opposed to life is unfolding or life is happening to me. For me versus to me. That is huge. And that is one of the fundamental differences, or what I believe to be one of the big things about spiritual coaching, is that life is happening for you in perfect timing. So when we come from that place, that means that part of our work is now paying attention to what's happening within, to what's happening outside, paying attention to how you feel when someone mentions something, right? When you're invited to go somewhere and you just feel lit up, when you are walking in a bookstore and you see this one book that's just calling you, and then you pick it up, and for some reason there's just this something in this book that is speaking to you deeply. It's paying attention to not just what's happening within, but also the signs that are outside. But those signs, it's not even as much about the book, but it's about how the book is making you feel, how it's connecting with you. That is what you are cultivating. And that, to me, is trust. That is the role that trust plays in your life, because there's no proof, right? Scientific data. I mean, I suppose that in quantum physics, we could argue that there is proof, but for all intents and purposes, when it comes to trust, trust means that you believe in something that there is no scientific proof. You can't see it with your eyes. You just have this feeling within you that this exists, that this higher power exists, that your intuition, the way in which this higher power, the universe, speaks to you, which is through your intuition, that you are trusting the way it's speaking to you, that you are trusting that, you know, you see the book, you pick it up, that there's this knowing within you that you can't explain. This is how we disconnect from it, is when we try to make sense of it, when we try to intellectualize it. We cannot make sense of it. We cannot intellectualize it. It is a knowing, a trust that we develop over time. And so that is another really important part to spiritual coaching, is recognizing the role that trust has. Trusting your intuition, trusting in the timing that things are unfolding, trusting that even those challenges, the detours that feel like setbacks, are actually the universe working for you in that moment, because somehow that wasn't meant for you in that moment. That if you just continue to trust that there's something even better that's for you, that you're being called towards. So that is such a fundamental part of spiritual coaching. And then I would say that what brings it all together is the space, the environment that you create. So as we know, we can't control most of what's happening in our lives, but what we can control is how we are showing up. And even though we can't fully control our environment, it is asking yourself, how can I support myself to stay in a place of connection, of trusting my knowing, of actually listening, of paying attention, of remembering that I am always co-creating. I'd say if I look back on my life, it's been this journey, ups and downs, of moments where I feel very connected and then moments where I forget. And it's not that I'm not a good person or that I'm less spiritual than someone else. It's just that life happens. Maybe life gets busy, you move, something big happens in your life, and then you go. Sometimes it's as simple as you go away on vacation and you're out of your routine, and then you just come back to go, and you forget. And that's okay, because the moment that you remember, you come back to it. So how can you create an environment that supports you remembering, that is there for you? I'd say for me, this is why the rituals are so important. How do you start your day? When I meditate, when I'm writing, when I'm journaling, when I go outside for walks in nature, connect with nature, all of, the books that I read, I do the very best that I can to surround myself with a frequency, an energy that reminds me of who I am at my core. And that is one of the things that is in your control, that is so important, is surrounding yourself with people, with spaces that support that. And really, I'd say that spiritual coaching, that's what it comes down to, right? It's not about pushing harder. It's about more depth, more alignment. It's not about chasing other people's goals and looking for external validation. It's about really being connected to who you are, your higher self, your own calling, your own inner voice. It's not about fixing anything because you've never been broken. It's about just simply peeling back what's in the way of you remembering who you truly are at your core. It's about rewriting the stories that no longer serve who you are today and who you are becoming. And it's about creating space in your life, an environment that supports you in trusting and in co-creating. And really, that has always been the intention in every space that I create. The Spiritually Wired membership, if you're listening to this and you've made it to the end of the podcast, it means that you are someone who values spirituality and mindset. And so if you are looking for an environment that supports you on this path, then that is exactly why I created the Spiritually Wired membership, a space where you can come and you can explore, stay open, be curious to all of these spiritual concepts and teachings, and at the same time, learn the tools and the practices that you need to remove what's in the way of you being in that connection. And then the best part of it is doing it with other women who are on the same path, because that is where the magic is. It's where you can be somewhere where you can be fully seen for yourself. You're not afraid of what other people are think. You're not changing yourself or pretending that you're someone you're not. You get to be yourself. And, I love, like a few months ago, we had one of these, I think it was in one of our coaching hours. No, it might have been a Tuesday evening class. And someone said, okay, I'm going to sound a little bit crazy. I'm not sure if I should say this. And you could just, like, everyone's like, no, please say it. You can't be crazy here. And that is the beauty of it, is that we can hold space for each other as we grow, as we evolve, as we expand. So I have a special offering for my podcast listeners. So if you're listening to this, you can receive the first month of the Spiritually Wired membership for free. Just use the code ELEVATE. I'm going to put the link in the show notes for you. And I really invite you. And I always say, it's like when you're in a space where you feel both scared and excited at the same time, that is your cue. So whether you are looking for more the accountability, or you want the learnings, the teachings, there's really something for everyone. But for me, it's offering this foundation that's there so that it always, no matter how much you're in the membership, it helps you to remember who you are. That's what I'm saying. It helps you to stay in that place of connection. Okay, my friends. Well, it feels so good to be back and so good to be with all of you. I am looking forward to this season. I've got some really cool guests that are lined up and some solo episodes that are coming your way. As always, I want to remind you that you are spiritually wired for love, for success, for connection. And I am sending you so much love. I will see you next week. Thank you for listening to Spiritually Wired. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to follow and leave a review. It really makes a big difference for the podcast. And if you're ready to dive deeper and join a soul-led community, come be a part of the Spiritually Wired membership. With weekly live lessons and a rich library of recorded classes, it's designed to support you every step of the way on your spiritual journey. We currently have a special offer where you can receive your first month for half the price. You can find a link in the show notes or come check it out at reneewalkerwellness.com. Until next time, remember to take some deep breaths. Remember that you are spiritually wired.